So the WNBA has never cared about Caitlin Clark. They don't care about Caitlin Clark, and today's situation has shown. Neither have these WNBA fans ever cared about Caitlin Clark. They've never cared about Caitlin Clark, the person. They've never given a damn about her. They don't, as I've always said about these people, is their job. These people, they don't want to grow the game. They don't even care about, everyone's like, oh, it's about our fans, it's about this, about that. It's like, no, they are not going to stop until they break this 22-year-old. And I've said it so many times that is the end goal of a lot of these people. Their end goal is, whether it be the players, whether it be some people in the media, whether it be the league, some people in the league itself. And I'm not saying everybody. I'm very much saying some people. Yes, obviously there's the general saying the WNBA doesn't care. Yes, there are obviously people that do. But when we see the reaction when something happens versus to Caitlin Clark versus anyone else, like the Caitlin Clark situation today with the stalker was crazy. And the reality is that Caitlin Clark tried to not let this go out, but obviously when the guy got arrested, it becomes public knowledge. But when it comes to everything else, like a lot of these players, and it's awful. And look, and people are like, why am I bringing up other players? Because it's happened to other players. We've heard this with Paige. We've seen this with what's her name? Angel Reese. Similar things happening to her as well. Like, it's not right. It's horrible. It's absolutely, absolutely horrible. And the difference is that when the Paige Becker situation happened, there were WNBA players talking about how, how awful this situation was and how no one should have to go through this. It happens to Caitlin Clark and it's crickets. If this happened to any other player in the WNBA, the WNBPA would have already released a statement. The players would be pouring in their like they would be talking about this. The players would be talking about how bad this is. That that's what's going to happen. Like, you just know it. Like, that's all I'm going to say is, you know it. You know that would happen. And the reality is that according to the articles, the WNBA did not even step in. The league itself did not even step in to help. And look, maybe she didn't go to the league, and if she didn't, fair enough. Rightfully so. But you can see here, we commend the Pacers Sports Entertainment and the Marion County Sheriff Office for the swift and serious action that led to the weekend arrest. So, fair play. And I think she probably didn't go to the WNBA because she probably doesn't trust them. Caitlin Clark won't post anything by the WNBA. And that's the reality situation. She won't do that. And there's a reason for it. There's an absolute reason for it. And also, the fact is like, this isn't the first time we've seen the stalker situation when it comes to Caitlin Clark. So, I've blocked out this Twitter account because I just don't want to give this woman her name anything. But basically, she tweeted out this. I've always talked about it a lot. Caitlin needs to leave W. This is beyond ridiculous. She exhibits school SH00TER behavior. Stop excusing it. And this is just about her arguing to a referee. And see the person who made this. That could genuinely be perceived as a threat. Maybe it's not an exact threat, but could be perceived as a threat. And is allowed to show up to games and has been seen with a media pass. Is buddy with players. Like, this is why the WNBA doesn't care. I don't think the players care. I actually don't. Because everything is about, remember the whole thing being like, oh, Caitlin Clark can just play basketball in peace while all of these other players, like, Caitlin Clark's able to play basketball in peace while these other players have to deal with all this stuff. No, she's just not posting it everywhere. I said this at the time. When people were all getting all of these death threats, I was like, I can guarantee you Caitlin Clark is getting it equally as bad, if not more than anyone else. And people were like, oh, no, she's not. She can just play basketball. No one bothers her. And it's like, no, it's obviously the case. The reality is, the more fans you have, the more crazy people that are your fans, especially in women's sports. And that's it. Like, it is a safety issue, and that's a big problem with women's sports. Going as far back as time can tell. Obviously, the biggest situation was the Monica Seles situation. But how many psychos online? We've seen it with Christina Grimmie. We've seen it with a bunch of things. It's an awful situation, and it's going to be affecting every single player. And then you see all these big WNBA fan accounts, and they're now like, we tried to tell y'all our fan base was weird and mentally ill. Y'all were defending them. You made these weirdos feel comfortable. So, but like when it happens to Paige, it's, oh Jesus, it's like, it shouldn't be happening. like when it happens to Paige Beckers, it becomes a case of this is horrible, this is a situation that should never happen, which is the right way to react about it. Hopefully Paige is okay. When Angel was talking about it in her podcast, everyone's like, oh, hopefully Angel's okay, it's horrible, she had to deal with that. But when Caitlin Clark has to deal with it, it's fuck you, Caitlin Clark fans. It's like, this person is a psycho person. This is a crazy person. This isn't a fan of anyone, this is a crazy person. But yet, the reality of this situation is that the old WNBA fans, they hate what Caitlin Clark represents so much that they're cool with her being stalked as long as it's a gotcha point. And it's horrible. It's horrible. And it's the situation is that, and the reality is like, there are people on both sides that are crazy. We kind of know that. Like, there are people, and if something bad happens to Angel Reese, there are people on the opposite side that will try to use that as a gotcha. They're just horrible people. They're horrible people on all sides. And the reason why I'm talking about that is because there are horrible people on every side, but the horrible people towards her, there are people in the WNBA media that are horrible towards her. And it's not just towards her. They were doing it to Sabrina Ionescu before as well. When anything bad happened to Sabrina Ionescu, there were people that were literally being employed by TV networks hyping up bad stuff towards Sabrina. And it's unfair. They're doing everything they can to tear down these people because it's not about Caitlin. Because they did the same thing to Sabrina in the past. It is not about Caitlin. It is because Caitlin Clark, because Sabrina Ionescu, by the way, she went to Oregon. She didn't go to a UConn. She didn't go to a South Carolina. And she came in with the backing of Kobe, with all the hype in the world, and they hated her for it. They hated her. And it's not, I don't think it's based on the color of their skin. I don't think it's based on the way they look. Because if it was, Elena Delle Donne would have gotten all the hype, would have gotten as much hate. I think it is literally a case of they're just bullies. They're just bullies. And I think that comes from the top. And I'm not saying on an individual by individual basis it's a problem. But you know for a fact that the WNBA Players Association would have had something on this. You know for a fact they would have talked about this if it was any of their other players. Because within, an hour of the Christine Brennan interview, they were talking about it. And this is from Robin Lumber again. Caitlin Clark was the center of all controversies or conversations for months. It was inevitable she was receiving heinous messages behind the scenes given her celebrity. No one seemed to care about what she was dealing with in the midst of all the discourse, and she always kept it pushing. Nobody cared. And that's the reality of the situation is. If you look throughout the year, the amount of stuff that was being said about Caitlin Clark, and it's like, anyone who's ever been there, like I've always said this, like you can find, there's so many videos on the channel, so it's hard to find specific ones. But when I've been talking about this topic, people are like, oh, Caitlin Clark's never been sent death threats. Man, I've been sent death threats by South Carolina fans. I've been sent death threats by Aces fans. I've had Aces fans try to freaking find where I live. Like, I've been sent these death threats. You better believe Caitlin Clark has. I've been sent them because I literally make videos talking about the WNBA, and about 50% of them are Caitlin Clark related. So, if I've been sent death threats, of course she's been sent them. Of course. And I can guarantee you he isn't the only unhinged psychopath that's been doing this type of stuff to her. But obviously she has to just keep going. And no one should ever have to deal with it. Absolutely no one should ever have to. And that goes for every single player. But when it comes to the WNBA, when it comes to WNBA media, when it comes to the WNBA fans, they just don't care about her. They just don't care. And they've never really cared. They've absolutely never cared. And this is what I'll always say this. You've got Natalie Esquire right here. You've got Natalie Esquire, #1 Caitlin Clark hater, who, by the way, has responded positively to the person who showed up to her game and called her a school SH00TUR in the WNBA media. Not one mention of this happening. I just, like, somebody who is obviously not in a good situation when it comes to like some of the crazy stuff with like some of the like when it comes to some of the crazy stuff she said with Caitlin Clark, and again, positively talking about or positively interacting with the person. And by the way, when she was interacting with that person, it wasn't just a normal post. It was a post that referred to Caitlin Clark as white bread. So it was that person made a racial insult to Caitlin Clark, and Natalie Esquire is there commenting on it in a laughing way. Again, let's never forget Sydney Brunson laughing at calling out Caitlin Clark, calling out everything, but then laughing at Sydney Colson, saying Monica Sanano looked like a man. Again, Sydney Colson, a WNBA player, saying one of Caitlin Clark's teammates looked like a man. Nothing. Crickets. You better believe if a WNBA player, or if it wasn't Caitlin Clark's teammates, if somebody said that about another WNBA player, that would be an issue. Whereas, 3 weeks later, Monica Zanano was a WNBA player? And that's the reality of the situation. It is absolutely embarrassing. Everything about the WNBA. Everything about this league. And I think that it needs to be addressed. It absolutely needs to be addressed. And again, you have got the number one, who was the number one Sabrina Ionescu hater, now the number one Caitlin Clark hater, Chris Williamson. Again, an embarrassment to media. Not one word, because they don't care. Their goal has not been to promote basketball. Their goal has actually not been to help the other players. And I stand by this. The goal of so many bad faith actors in the WNBA. Sure, I get it. You got your jobs in the media in the WNBA because nobody in the past wanted to cover the league, and you could be as bad at your job as you wanted if you were willing to cover, if they had a spot to cover the league and you were the only person that was willing to cover the league, you can be as bad at your job as you wanted. You can care as little as you wanted about the sport. You can do all of that stuff. And you can get away with it. You can absolutely get away with it. And again, let's not forget good old Roberta. No mention of this. But when Caitlin Clark, absolutely no mention of that. But at the same time, so Caitlin Clark actually is in a situation where where everything that has happened, it's like, oh wow, the people that didn't shut up saying that she never had to deal with anything. A person who said Caitlin Clark de-escalation committee, that she exists like a white teenage boy and use the privilege that come with being one. You're very quick to say that after people are joking about her teammates calming her down because she's a bit of a hothead. You're very quick to post about that. You're very quick to post all your negative thoughts about Caitlin Clark. You're very quick to post how you thought it was unfair to Dejanay Carrington if Caitlin Clark played in Unrivaled. But when actually something bad has happened, something horrifically bad has happened to Caitlin Clark. And by the way, it's been horrifically bad to other players. This is happening to other players. This is not a situation that is solely with Caitlin Clark. It's something that unfortunately is the case with female celebrities. It's unfortunately the case with female athletes. And it's an absolute, it's a scary situation. It's a scary situation. But these reporters, and one of the reporters was literally dumb enough to talk about, to actually believe an AI article that said Unrivaled would have a 3-second shot clock. A 3-second shot clock. She was that dumb. She was that little bit of basketball that she was dumb enough for that. And it's like, look, at the end of the day, I'm just a guy who rants into a computer. I'm not saying that I'm above any of this, but at least I think I'm a decent person. I don't think any of these people are. And they don't care. All they want to do is destroy 22-year-olds. And I'm sorry, WNBA, I'm being 100% honest. I'm giving every single bit of my recommendation. If you are any WNBA network, if you are anyone on sports media, hire her. Please do it. That is, if you want somebody that people are going to like, if you want somebody that is going to talk about the sport of basketball, if you want somebody that actually is a decent person, and also, if you don't want a Fever fan, it's cool, she's a Sky fan. If you want someone who actually seems to know the sport of basketball from what I've seen, who actually is promoting the sport, please hire her if you're these networks. Because your Natalie Esquires, your Chris Williamsons, these are just horrible people whose goal, by the way, their goal was to tear down Sabrina Ionescu before it was her. That is their goal. And the problem is that, heck, I'm 99% sure I'm there seeing Natalie Esquire in her media pass. I ran past her during the freaking... I ran past either her or someone that looked like her during Game 3 of the WNBA Finals. Because I'm like, she 100% knows who I am. And I'm like, I basically ran past the media section trying to not get any draw any attention, because I know there are some bad faith actors that will probably say I was some sort of issue or planning on freaking doing something in that game. So I was like, I can't be seen. And again, I was probably overreacting. I'll admit it, I definitely think I was. But with how psychopathic some of these people are, how nuts some of these people are, it wouldn't surprise me if they tried to do something like that. But anyway, yeah, that is the video. This situation has exposed so much. It has exposed so much. Every one of the people that we're saying, and like, if you want, you can find so many videos throughout the year where people are like, oh, Caitlin Clark doesn't have to deal with any of this stuff. And I'm like, Caitlin Clark chooses not to respond to this. Anyone who didn't realize that 6 months ago is either naive, is either refusing to accept reality because of your hatred for not even her. No, no one hates her. Because your hatred of what you believe she represents. Or you're just completely just oblivious to what's going on the internet. The reality is it was anyone with sense said it at the time. Caitlin Clark is dealing with the same stuff as all these other players are. Probably worse. Probably worse. They just didn't care. They didn't care at the time. They still don't care. None of these people care. None of these people care. None of these people care about the sport of basketball first and foremost. They don't care about the sport of basketball. And now you can, now it's not a fact, but you can just see. You can see by who they're reacting with, and even the WNBA allowing the school SH00TER, who was videoing fans, looking for fans to threaten them, allowing her to show up to a game, giving her a media pass. They're complicit with it too. And you won't see anything from the WNBA PA. You won't see anything from the WNBA about this. From the commissioner might say something. And this has nothing to do, by the way, with the whole Clark versus Reese thing, which they're going to somehow put it on. This is a crazy person. This is an absolute crazy person. And the problem is there's a lot of crazy people in the world. And no one should have to deal with that. Thankfully, she has security. But the reality of the situation is the fact that the Caitlin Clark haters, when they find out she's being stalked, can't even show sympathy. They're just some of the worst people. These are some of the worst people you will meet. They've made their entire existence hating on a person they don't even know, and for no reason. Their goal has never been to grow the sport. They don't care about basketball. Their goal has been to tear down number 22. And the big issue is that there are a lot of people, there are an awful lot of people in the actual WNBA media who have said some borderline unforgivable things about her. That if it was anyone who wasn't as strong as Caitlin Clark as a person, would have been broken. But they don't care. And the reality is the WNBA doesn't care because they keep getting their press passes. They'll keep getting their press passes. They'll keep getting put in positions where they can be the ones to break the news. Even though they don't care about the sport, they don't care about the players. And you might be saying, oh, they do care about the players. If you don't care about any of the 144, you don't care about all of them. That's a fact. But anyway, I'll see you guys.